Hi everyone, and welcome to the wrap up for Diversathon here on my channel. I am Sadie. I am your hostess with the mostest. During Diversathon I read 3 books, and I'm going to talk to you about them a little bit now. So the first book I managed to read is Toni Morrison's Home. Now this is not the first Toni Morrison I've read. I've read Sula, The Bluest Eye, and I believe Beloved. But it's been a while, so I might not have read Beloved, or maybe I read Beloved and not The Bluest Eye. I can't remember completely, so there you have it. But I have read other books by Toni Morrison. This was a good book, however, it's not her best book. The book itself has a really pretty cover. I got it at the Friends of the Library sale for $1, and you can't refuse a Toni Morrison for $1. My slipper is not staying on. And it is cold in this room because it is February. Okay, so this story follows a couple of people within one family. There's the older brother Frank and the younger sister C. Now, C has gotten herself in a little bit of trouble. We don't really know what kind of trouble that is. There's an unreliableness to the narration that is going on, and we later find out that it was someone else who called upon Frank. Frank himself is coming home from the war. I believe it's the Korean War. And he's really screwed up. He's trying to find his way from the East Coast to Georgia. So and originally he's in a hospital, and he has to break out of the hospital subsequently and travel across the country to get back home. And as he's traveling and telling his story to us as one of the narrators, we realize he is also an unreliable narrator. But his unreliability comes about because of the PTSD and the things that he had to do in war, or the things that happened during the war that shaped him as a man. And really, it's not a really big book, but it's an interesting look at the African American experience in the 1950s when, you could go to war, but you still weren't good enough. Which is something I've always been interested in because of my heritage being First Nations Canadian, which is a Native American or whatever, and First Nations people also served in the war but were not allowed to have any of the benefits when they came back in Canada, which was really sad. So that was the first book I read. The second book I read is actually, I waffle on whether or not this would be considered a Diversathon, except this is about a Jewish family and it's written by a Jewish man. It is a fictitious work. It's also an ARC. It comes out in April, I believe. It's called Tell Me How This Ends Well by David Samuel Levinson. This is his second book. It's quite a big book. It's about 400 pages. It's set in the future in 2020 in a world in which anti-Semitism has come back. Currently, the family is scattered. A couple of people live in Berlin. Some of them live in California, some live in Texas, and I believe one of the characters lives in Georgia. Apparently there's a big theme with Georgia in my Diversathons. And they're all getting together for Passover and to celebrate that tradition. Now, they're all Jewish. They're a Jewish family. They're celebrating Passover in an anti-Semitic world where terrorists are attacking the Jewish faith and Jewish people. So it's quite different. The main character we start out with, the story is told in multiple parts from different family member perspectives. So you see the event happen from multiple perspectives. We have Jacob, who is the gay brother coming home from Berlin with his lover, who is German. This is causing all kinds of strife for the family because, of course, Germans and Jews, problem. Not actually a problem, but in this case it's a big problem. It's a big problem for everyone. I can understand where the problem would come from. This is causing a lot of inter-family strife. And then we have the daughter who has much baggage, and she is recently divorced We have the other son, who is a struggling actor, who has 5 kids, a pair of twins and a pair of triplets. His marriage is crumbling. And then we have the mother and the father. Everyone hates the father. The mother is dying. Do you think there's enough plot? Do you think that they threw in enough plot in this book? It was a quick read. It was a good read. There's a lot of Yiddish going on, and I know a fair bit of Yiddish, at least the more catchphrasey words or things you would hear about in daily life, or anything you'd pick up by watching television, or even documentaries on Jewish people. So, like, some of them I could figure it out, and sometimes the spellings just miffed me and I had to Google them. So at the very end of this is the fact that it's a family drama, and they're trying to be together, and they're trying to celebrate this day, and it's going horribly wrong. And the main plot point, which it will tell you on the back, which it will tell you in anything, is that these kids want to kill their father because he was a horrible, horrible, horrible man. And of course we get to find out how he was a horrible, horrible, horrible man many, many, many times. So that's on top of everything. There's this little hint of espionage that they're going to go kill their father. But how do you do that when you're also being filmed for a reality TV show? Let's throw that in there. So, Jewish family drama. Well, anti-Semitism runs rampant, and they're being targeted for hate crimes. Can I pack any more in here? No, I can't. I believe I gave it 3 or 4 stars. I would have given it 3.5 total if I could have. It's a good book. It's a fun book. It's a beach book if you like family dramas and stuff like that. I don't think I'd ever read it again. However, the author really conveys a certain Jewish family experience, I imagine. I am not Jewish, but I could see people saying this is a very close to the Jewish family experience. So I'm putting that in my Diversathons because I am not Jewish, nor am I white. And I tend to, unlike most people, I tend not to read a lot of white men. Sorry, I'm going to drink, and I'm not going to edit it out because I'm not spending time editing. Okay, the last one I read is Once Were Warriors by Alan Duff, which is the book that inspired the movie. I also have the movie. I saw the movie first at the behest of my friend Lily, who is from New Zealand. She is Pakeha, so she is not Maori, but she said, watch the movie. And so I saw this book in a used bookshop. It should have been part of my used book haul, but I was reading it and I forgot. So Once Were Warriors follows a Maori family, and I'm gonna eat the word. It's not Maori, it's Maori. You know what I'm talking about, the New Zealand First Nations there, the whatever. So we follow this family. They're currently living in a government-funded housing, and originally the narrator is the wife, and it switches to being the husband, and then it switches to being the daughter. So it kind of revolves, but only within a certain group of characters. We never once hear from other characters. We see them at a glance, or we get one chapter with them and then we're done. The book is very jarring in that fashion. The other thing that's very jarring is that it is written in dialogue, so the dialogue is broken, which means sometimes you have to like say it in your head several times before you actually understand. It's not a big book, but it took me a good couple of days to get through. This is usually like a night, maybe a day and a half for me in terms of size, and it took much longer because I had to get used to the syntax. Now, it works because that is the language they're speaking, and it makes complete sense. Alan Duff, the writer, is half Maori, half Pakeha. Pakeha being the word Maoris have for white people. And he grew up in these particular projects. I believe it's the two... He calls it the two something, and he grew up in Rotorua, which means two, I want to say trees. So many things are going on. We have Beth, we have Jake, we have, I don't even want to say his name because it comes from a slur, but there is Nig. And guess why he's called that? This is a very tough book to read if you have triggers with rape, if you have triggers with abuse, if you have triggers with gang violence or gangs. But it is such a wonderful... it's not going to make you happy. It's not going to uplift you, but it is going to give you a glimpse into what life is like for people who are poor and who are not white and who are living in government subsidized housing and who have alcohol abuse problems, who have drug abuse problems, and just how they get by day to day. As we go through the story and we see Beth being beaten up by her husband repetitively, and she's a very strong, proud woman, we see her change throughout the book. We see Jake, the husband, the abusive one, who is prided and prized about his muscles and his manliness. We see him come crumbling down. We see the one son, Boogie, go off and be put in child services. And, of course, Grace, the daughter, has her own experiences, which are tragic. It's tragedy upon tragedy, and then at the end it kind of evens itself out. If you're into tough reads and you're into finding out, about other cultures, then this is a great book for you. But have the tissues ready. Those were the 3 books I read during Diversathon, and I really enjoyed it. But in terms of Diversathon, here's my question. Is it diverse for me to read? I understand that the meaning of Diversathon and their own voices is to read by people who are writing about their own people, and to read diversely. But what if you already do that? Should you be narrowing it? Like, is it Diversathon for the world at large? Like, I know the world at large doesn't read a lot of female books, or the world at large doesn't read a lot of LGBT-themed books, or the world at large does not read a lot of African-American writers. Does that mean that this is what I'm supposed to be reading during Diversathon? Or is it my own reading patterns and diversifying that? In which case, I would probably try to read a lot more white people? Or British? No, I read a fair bit of British. I don't know who I'd try to read. I would have to actually look at the statistics. But in the grand scheme of things, does that mean I should be trying to read more white people? I don't know. So, feel free to comment. Do come and join the subscribe to the channel and join the conversations. I am going to try and do a book haul after this, so I hope you had great fun during Diversathon. I know I did, and now I'm kicking into February reading. I did see that Jen Campbell is doing a 1984 readathon, and I might have to pick that up again, because, yeah. Stay strong, people. Stay strong.